Yeah, holy fucking shit, my microphone was muted. I did not realize I did that. Holy fucking shit. Alright, AI. Topical video. Wonderful stuff. I'm gonna just kind of rant a bit because there's been talk about like the uses of AI and how it's sort of plagiarizing things. So Google had made this defense in years past that because they link to the actual article and they just provide like a short summary or whatever, or like the headline plus a description or whatever, that they weren't engaged in like plagiarism, you know? AI comes along and just says plagiarism's fine. you can you can rewrite an article as whatever way you want and it'll be just like another news outlet, having the article. And personally, as a ideologue or whatever, I'm not a huge fan of intellectual property. You know what I mean? Like obviously in the in a free software license and a copyleft license, there is still a copyright. You still retain the copyright of the software that you make. I know I'm gonna try to tie this into into what we're talking about, but you retain a copyright to your project. However, your terms in which you distribute it are that you give people permission to redistribute, make changes, as long as they give you back those changes or license it under the same terms. You know what I mean? So, but personally, from a purely is a article that some journalist writes, do I would I consider that a if I were to republish that, should I be sued? And personally, I'm gonna say go fuck yourself. You know what I mean? Like, oh man, I can download an image on the internet, I can download some text on the internet, and I can republish it. Get fucked. You know what I mean? So I'm not a huge fan of. I mean, I kind of make the argument that intellectual property, from my standpoint, is inherently problematic. You know, I mean, obviously, you can make the economic argument that it helps people fucking make money and innovate and whatever, but I don't give a shit. I don't want people to be. Uh, I believe in sharing. You know what I mean? I think we should be able to share intellectual property, and that everybody should have a right to redistribute and learn and share from it. This is why I am a very large or very big proponent of piracy. I think that it's important that we share not only software but media, books, movies, TV shows, because a lot of that shit gets lost to time. And if somebody didn't make a backup of it, well, guess what? You're fucked. You know. So I am fully on board with just download whatever the fuck you want with absolutely no moral qualms to it whatsoever. It should be your inalienable right to pirate whatever the fuck you want and redistribute it. That's just me though, you know. But AI, what it's doing, because we got to tie this back in. This can't just be a go pirate everything you can kind of video. So, however, AI does technically pirate things if you consider like a news article to be a copyrighted work, you know? So it is kind of interesting to see AI like completely dunk on copyright lawyers, because there's nothing they can do about it right now. It's not technically plagiarism, so they can't do anything about it. And I think that's a victory, personally. I think that now I wish that the slope would slip, and it would eventually just lead to the abolishment of all intellectual property. But again, that's just me. So, however, I wanted to talk a bit about what AI does that is interesting, because it doesn't do a whole lot that's interesting. But there is one thing it's really good at. Well, actually, a couple of things, but the one thing it's really good at is replacing search engines, because a lot of queries for searches, like the searches I make, aren't usually. Surprisingly, I don't look for information a whole lot. I'm actually using the search engine to link me to another website, and I already know what website I want to go to for the most part. It's a really weird way to use a search engine, but The one thing that AI is really good at is if you give it a query, it will spit you back the information that you ask. And this has actually been useful for me because I was on Amazon trying to order a Wi-Fi card, but it was for my MacBook, and I needed to look up if the Wi-Fi card I was buying was compatible with the 2014 MacBook Pro. So I just typed in the ask a question about this product, and uh, Amazon came up with an answer that said yes. Users report that this will work in a 2014 MacBook Pro. So I bought it, because it's Amazon. If it doesn't work, I can just return it. So whatever. But I installed it and it did work. So I was like, oh, cool. The AI actually, because that's one thing that I really hated about searching for products is I need very specific information about the product to know if it's compatible. Like, let's say you're buying a camera lens, but you're buying one for a different camera, or you're buying sandpaper, you need it for a specific sander, or you need. I buy a lot of shit that needs to be put into another thing. Or like if I'm looking for little Wi-Fi nubs, I need to know if they have a kernel driver or if I need to install a driver manually or if it has a driver, does it work on Linux. Because surprisingly, that is still a problem. Like I know people say that it's not a problem anymore, but yes, it is still a problem. You can buy hardware that doesn't work on Linux at all. And I sometimes forget about that when I'm buying hardware. Is that, oh yeah, it'll just work. It's like, no, it may not just work. I'm gonna make sure that I'm getting shit that actually works. So but AI is really good at taking a query and spitting back the relevant information, because let's say you're looking up, there was a joke video made by Programmers Are Human a couple of years back, and it was talking about using the internet in current year. And so he looked up chicken chow mein recipes, and every single link at the top of that got SEO'd all the way to the top, it was like so fucking full of ads. The recipe was like at the very bottom of the page, and it had like a blog about how the fucking chicken chow mein saved his marriage or whatever. And LLMs, like AI, is really good at, you say, give me a chicken chow mein recipe, and it spits out the recipe with no bullshit added onto it. Maybe like a little bit of bullshit, but not very much. So that's one reason why I think that people are kind of overreacting to search engines, especially getting into AI, because AI will actually be a useful tool, and I do see it going somewhere that cryptocurrency really didn't. I obviously know that there are benefits to cryptocurrency, especially in countries where you may not be able to trade in the dollar, and you need some sort of global currency in order to trade. Or let's say you live in Venezuela and crypto's worth like way more than your currency ever will. Uh, but crypto, all like the pyramid schemes that came off of it didn't really, all the investor capital going into it did not really help it at all. That was kind of the problem. And the stuff that came out of crypto, like NFTs, were not useful, basically. Where crypto never really saw this mass adoption, even though I've got some crypto, I've got like some Monero or whatever, and I may go buy some fucking Mental Outlaw merch if you ever get something good. But yeah, if you ever talk to Mental Outlaw, tell him to like make a Gen 2 shirt or something. I don't know. Not this fucking BSD shit. I don't use BSD. Anyways, oh yeah, get a KVM. I'll buy that, even if it's just like the normal shit he does, where it's just a he just buys it from a wholesaler and resells it. I don't care. But um, that's kind of why I say that AI is going to serve a purpose that crypto did not, and it's going to. Uh, a lot of companies are just kind of shitting out products with it right now, but the core idea of it makes a lot more sense than Web3 did, basically. So I do kind of see it becoming either an add-on to a search engine or a full replacement for some people. You know what I mean? Especially if it were to link to another website or something, and you could like look up, you could like ask the LLM, give me an Amazon link to whatever the best camera is, and then it'll spit out an Amazon link to the best camera or whatever. Or whatever it fucking recommends. Or give me a list of the top 10 best cameras, and then I can go buy one. That'll be. I do see a purpose in AI that was not that was not there in the past, you know? Now, am I gonna go out there and fucking use AI for everything? Probably not, because I hardly use a search engine. What the fuck am I gonna use AI for? You know? But I do see it, especially if we can get local models running on a phone. I could see myself maybe using it on occasion, you know, just for some stuff. Especially stuff like Stable Diffusion. I know people say that the art is quote soulless, but honestly, it looks about as fine as every other fucking artist on DeviantArt these days. Arguably better, you know. So like, yeah, these people that complain about AI art taking over everything, obviously I can tell the difference between like good human generated art and decent AI art, but for the purpose it serves, it looks fucking fine. It's not like garish or anything, you know what I mean? So, like I said, I think people kind of get on their high horse about this AI thing, and I don't really see it that way personally. Like I said, I'm probably not going to use AI very much, especially if I don't like Stable Diffusion thing. I suck at prompts. I suck at everything, you know. And I think that's something that'll need to be worked on later. Is we had to teach a generation how to use search or how to use keywords in a search engine. And I have seen so many people not know how to do that, especially older people who should probably know this, who grew up on primitive search engines. Not grew up, but that were there when there was a primitive search engine where you couldn't type in a query. You couldn't say, like, what college baseball team has won 3 World Series in a row or whatever the fuck, you know, 3 national championships. Uh, and that still probably won't give you an answer, honestly. But they type in these fucking queries looking for the information they're looking for, and I was like, did you not learn how to use a search engine when they were coming out? You know, it's very confusing to me. I didn't think that would be a problem for some people, but LLMs, you don't need to use these keywords, but the trade-off though is you need to learn how to prompt, and a lot of people don't know how to prompt yet, and I am one of them. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I just fucking type in a query and hope that it gives me the right answer, you know. So because it doesn't work like a search engine, you know, and I kind of see that becoming like an emergent sort of technology, you know. uh that's kind of a weird take on it. I'm sure that nobody watching my channel really likes AI, but well, actually, I know one person that really does, but uh, I just kind of see that it serves a few purposes, and one of them is the destruction of intellectual property. I really like that part, but I do actually see it becoming a useful search tool for like just general queries, you know? That's really all I wanted to talk about right now. I'll see you later, guys. Thanks.